And good evening, everybody. How are we doing this evening? Thank you all for joining me this evening. Welcome to the Dragon's Lair. This is Digital Dragon, and I was just trying to do some last minute setups. So we had something to chat about briefly. We did get some mail in today that I wanted to go over and chat about before we get started into the build. As some of you may have known, we've been having some issues with the network bandwidth lately, so I am kind of running a little bit of a delay on the stream, so please be aware of that. I'm doing that just because our network out here has been a little spotty, and I found doing some testing that the wireless between being downstairs near the room that the router is in, and then upstairs in the Dragon layer here, that the wireless throughput drops off significantly. So did a little research and realized, kind of forgot, counting the years, that it's been about 7 years since I've updated my wireless router. So as of today, we have a new wireless router that just showed up. This is the Hartk Tri-Band AX8, AX6600 model, which is a 8-stream, 8-antenna wireless router. So this will be the project later on tonight to try and get this set up and running, so that hopefully our next stream will go a little bit easier. And then yesterday, I was going out because Amazon was supposedly dropping some stuff off, and I thought I heard the Amazon delivery person, and lo and behold, it wasn't Amazon. It was my good friend Evil Diesel. So he had dropped off a box a couple days ago. He came by the Dragon lair and was scoping out all the projects in real life, and borrowed a bit of filament, not borrowed, but was gifted about 7 rolls of filament from the cave here, and he brought a box by. And so I asked him if it was okay if I read the note and open it up here on the stream, and he said not a problem. It says, Digital Dragon 72, I noticed you needed some big kid tools for your stream. Hope these help. Evil Diesel. So let's see what he has in store for me. So apparently I needed hey Evil Diesel, how's it going? We're in the process of opening your box that you sent to me today. Apparently my tools were not as professional as they needed to be, and so I now have a hammer. Well, I don't know if this one will cut better than my regular X-Acto knife. We've got a box end wrench, a miniature tool belt with some various pliers, another hammer on it, we have another wrench, a flathead screwdriver, apparently a bolt to practice on, and the all-important hacksaw for when you need to cut some extrusion or some linear rail down. I mean, it should probably only take me about 3 years to get through an extrusion with this, but I'm willing to give it a shot. Oh wow, it even has replaceable blades too. Wasn't that spiffy? Well, all right. Let's see what else we have in the box here. A box within a box. And what does this box hold? More tape. Should we see if our new knife will cut tape? I guess just about anything can. And we got some resin. Looks like it's Anycubic Eco UV resin in translucent green. And I know some of you are probably going, well, wait, Digital Dragon. All of these printers back here are FTM. What am I going to do with resin? That's another surprise for later. See, I've been feeding Evil Diesel's addiction, much to his wife's chagrin as much as mine, and helped him acquire a few 3D printers to get started. And he made the leap to resin not too long ago to start printing miniatures. And him and his wife decided to pay me back, and I now have a Mars 2 Pro resin printer and a wash and cure station for it. I have a feeling it's because he needed to expand his operations some, and so I will be doing some printing along with him in a joint venture that we're talking about. Now, this will most likely come in handy. It is the iFixit ProTech Toolkit. So this, I think, will probably come in handy as I'm starting to work on the printers, and probably especially the resin printer, because I'm sure it's going to have smaller screws to mess with. But yeah, this is definitely a good gift. Thank you very much for this, Evil Diesel. Thank you very much. I am going to put it back, and I will break it out another day. I do just want to kind of close this up. Thanks you once again, Evil Diesel. Evil Diesel is not streaming yet, but you may see him in some capacity on this show sometime in the near future. We never know what'll happen. Things in the Dragon Lair obviously are changing quick, fast, and in a hurry. So on other things, some of you may notice a little bit of a difference in your Twitch screen. I guess it would be down this way. There's now a subscribe button. Over this weekend, I made affiliate, and I am now able to get subscriptions and bitty donations. So please, you don't have to subscribe. Follows are free. Love it if you just follow me and click the notification icon so you see when I come on and stream, so you can continue to work through these projects with me. But yeah, if you can, never required, but if you can and feel like supporting the channel more, feel free to subscribe and or give some bits. And that would be great. So with that, we're going to go ahead and bring Blue Dragon back up here. And you'll notice a couple of things changed on the idler bars up here. When we first set them up, let me switch over to this screen, this will probably help better. Yeah, when we first set these up, the idlers, I had them on the wrong sides. So I quickly noticed that as I was putting in the linear rail for the gantry, and so I went ahead and got those swapped out off screen. I did go ahead and take the gantry off and put the new linear rail on so that we are ready to continue on our stream today. So the linear rail has been, whoops, sorry about that. The linear rail has been added. It has been tightened down, so we are able to move around on our own power, and everything is moving nicely, and we are set to continue. Once again, by this stage, if you're following the build guide, we would have the Y-carriage plate on. I have decided to leave that off for the time being, just to make it easier to move around and work and show you guys off on the camera. But eventually we will be having to put that on, and not too much longer. But now that we've got our linear rail on and our gantry is installed and tightened down, we're ready to move on. So with that, I did go ahead off channel as well and go through and put in some heat set inserts. And so the first step would be to take our mounting block for our X-carriage and go ahead and insert the 4 heat set inserts in there. And like I said, I've already got those done. And what I do on these pieces is I'll heat up the insert and push it almost all the way through or all the way in, and then I'll put it down on the edge of the workbench here, which provides a good reference surface from, and then just push down from the back. And what that allows it to do is get a nice crisp flush face on it, which will really help when we go to start screwing things on. So we need to put the 4 inserts in there. We need to put inserts in the 2 belt clamps that will hold on our X and Y or X and Z belts. And then we had to put in 2 heat set inserts into this thin piece here, and this would be what goes through and holds the probe in place. Now on this one, you got to be careful. I tend to do one, work on something else, and then come back and do the other one, because that piece is really thin and they're pretty close together. If you're not careful, you will melt and warp this print. So that's why I do one and then go and work on something else and come back and do the other side. So we started off and we've got those 4 set up. We'll go ahead, I'm going to lower you all down a bit here. Sorry, I was a little rushed getting everything set up today after work, so I want to make sure that we're good to go here. Okay. And then we go through and we do the same thing on the carriage pieces. So on these pieces, we have 1 at the base on each side, and that's the only heat sets that go in here. And then on the right side, so that they'll be mounted in this configuration where it makes an L that goes back and under the gantry. So this will be the right side. We will put in 3 M3 hex nuts. I'm not pulling any of those up. Okay, and it's all the way at the end. Just push that in. Then the one furthest forward at the bottom, line that one up and push it in. And then the one all the way up at the top. So how's your day going today, Evil Diesel? Doing anything exciting today? I'm just going to use my forceps and try and push those nuts all the way down in there. Your print tolerances are good. It's going to be a tight fit and it'll hold things in there nicely. Okay, and then the next step, we are going to put in a, apologize for that. We're going to put in a end stop, and we'll also need to wire up that end stop. The end stop I did not grab. Excuse me 1 second. I'm going to have to go and grab that out of the bench stock. Be right back. All right, folks, so apparently we may have an issue with that because I can't easily and quickly find those end stops. So I'm going to apologize for that. I will have to try and find those again off stream, or if it pops into my head as I'm thinking and doing other things, we will come back and revisit that. I will go ahead and go forward as far as I can, even without having the end stop in here. Should be able to get in and get it mounted and route the wires fairly easily. And if not, then I will take it off stream and do it. But really what we're going to do is we would install a standard Omron end stop switch, and it's going to mount right in this gap here and screw directly into the printed part. And we will add, I believe it's 150 millimeters of wire and connect it up in the normally closed configuration, so the two outer edges. Okay, and that is going to be plugged into the tool head board. So, you know, like I said, I may have to just take a couple of things apart to get that back, but we will continue forth, and I will get that up done off camera. So the next step would be to go ahead and put our two halves together. I will need 3 M3x40s and 2 M3x12s. One of these days I will definitely have all my stock ready to go when we're doing this. Okay, so once again, not the two flat halves, but the two flat halves are on the outer edge, and we're going to start to go in and put in our screws that would align with the hex nuts that we put in on the other side. So go ahead and get one started. Just get those in place. And we'll use our 2.5 millimeter X driver. And we'll just tighten those down. So you got your BL Touch calibrated, and are you actually doing a print on it using the BL Touch now, or have you done an initial bed mesh with it yet? Okay, so there's those. Yep, all good, awesome. And if you don't have one, I would always suggest having a handy dandy screw holder or a screw identifier on your workbench, just in case. Right now I'm doing a build from a brand new build up, but if you're not and you're doing a build up, hey Westry One, how you doing, sis? If you're doing a build up as you've torn something down and you were just throwing screws into a bin, having one of those will quickly be able to give you an idea of what your which screws you're using. The M3x12 screws are going to go in these top holes on the flat faces, and we're not going to screw those all the way in, because what's going to happen is this is going to be where the tool head, meaning the actual hot end, is going to clip in. And I'll show you what that looks like here in a second. Westry, you have a package on the way. Just saying. And it says to leave about 3 or 4 millimeters exposed. Once again, we're threading this directly into the plastic on this particular application. And I'm just going to kind of get it close and start working on it. Ah, so you were iced over? Yeah, I have a co-worker in, where did you just move to? Utah. And he said they're calling for 2 to 3 ice storms in the next couple of days. So he definitely went and tried to get supplies before the end of the day. So what I'm going to do is just kind of check the reveal here. Wow. I apparently have well-calibrated eyeballs. But what I will show you all so you have 2 pieces that make up your hot end holder, or the hot end portion of your stealth burner. Oh, hey Royal Nami, how are you doing today? Yeah, exactly. And so your tool holder is going to get mounted in here, and the wires routed around. And this will become your tool holder, and your hot end will be right there. And you'll notice that you've got these 2 like half moon clips. And that's why we're leaving a gap, because your tool holder is going to clip right in there. And that seems a little loose, so what I'm going to do is hold that there, and I'm just going to tighten it up just a little bit. You just want it snug. So you're basically holding the tool head in with the friction, as well as the front piece that will go in and lock that in. And you'll see how that all works when we get it put together a little bit later. Just a tad more. Okay, there's also the little ledge down here that it sits on as well. So once again, you're not trying to ugga-dugga it down. It's not like a typical tool head where it's fully and solidly mounted, because what we're trying to do here is just basically provide a little bit of a friction compression fit and have the ability that we can pull it back out for ease of maintenance. Just a smidge out. There we go. Okay. Now, there is one thing that I need to ask your all's help on before we get too far along here. I can build the Stealth Burner tool head on here with the Clockwork 2 extruder system. Okay. Or I have a couple of LGX Lite extruders on the bench, and I could build this printer and use the LGX extruder system. So I wanted to put that forth to everybody here and see what they thought, and I will see if I can't get a poll going here and ask everybody their thoughts on what they may want me to do here as far as setting up either the Clockwork 2 extruder, the standard printed extruder that uses the standard Bondtech gears, or go with the LGX Lite, which is the large gear extruder. It's really good for flexibles and will give us some other options of something that we haven't done yet. And let me see if I can't get a poll set up here real fast. We're going to go ahead and poll has started. We're going to run that poll for 10 minutes. Evil Diesel, your protopasta shipped already. Very good. And actually, give me 1 second, and I'll grab one of those extruders, and I will show you what it looks like. So normally, the Clockwork 2 extruder is a set of Bondtech gears that would come in a typical Bondtech, that would come in a typical Bondtech extruder or a Sherpa Mini or an Orbiter, or a lot of different extruders use the Bondtech dual gear system, otherwise known as the BMG. And what would happen is these two pieces, we would get everything put together. They would be locked in. There we go. They would be locked in. We would have a tension spring on one side and our shroud would fit to the front of it, like so. And over on this side, on the side of the extruder, we would have the tool head board. So all the wires would go to the board, and there's an umbilical that comes off the board. So this is one way that we could set it up. We could also set it up where, rather than taking the guts out and embedding it into the printed parts, we would literally mount the Bondtech LGX extruder within the frame here. Gotta take that part out. So this would literally get mounted in the frame here. Tool head board can still be mounted on the side, and once again the cover with the fans covers it up, so you wouldn't really know that it's there other than there will be a lever at the top. And the nice thing with the LGX, let me take this front plate off, is you've got a little lever here. And what that lever does is all the way to the one side is loose, which means you can load filament. It's a straight filament path through there. One click in is for your flexibles. Okay? 2 clicks in, or fully engaged, would be your standard filament types, your PLA, your ABS, your just standard harder filament types. And so that's nice because with a flick of a button or a little lever, you can engage it fully for a regular print, for TPU, or for having it fully open. And that way you don't have to keep pulling on a lever and adjusting a tension screw. It's kind of preset. And the other nice thing with this is you have that wheel exposed, and you can actually hand move your filament in and out with that right there. And if I take the front plate off, the front plates on these, hey Acetocraft, how are you doing, are interchangeable, so you can get like different designs. There's a honeycomb one I think that came with this as well. And I want to be careful, I'm not going to hold it up vertically, so I'll switch camera views here. But one of the nice things with the Bondtech LGX and LGX Lite is LG stands for large gear, and these are the gears that actually bite into your filament. So as you can see, these are a lot larger than the typical drive gears on a Bondtech extruder. So this is why this is so much better for either running higher extrusion speeds, if you're trying to do high flow hot ends, or if you're running flexibles, because on these gears you're getting 3 to 5 teeth that are squeezing the filament at any given time, where on a standard Bondtech system you're only getting, I think, 2 to 3 max. So here you're getting a lot more teeth that are engaging with the actual filament, and it gives you a lot better giving you a lot better grip on the filament, and therefore a lot smoother extrusion experience. So how are you doing today, Aceta Craft? You working on anything interesting and exciting? So we do have a poll open, and the basic question that we're asking, and why I'm going over the Bondtech extruder here, is whether or not we build with the Clockwork 2 for this stealth burner build, or if we use the Bondtech LGX Lite for this extruder build. I am in the process of printing the extra parts, so I will be able to go either direction or either way. So we just need to come up and decide which way we want to go. Oh, Westry, I just realized that you subscribed. Thank you so much, sis. And like I said, you do have a care package coming from our good friend Nick. It will be there in a few days, I'm assuming. Dang it. Sorry, trying to get the compression collet back in there. There we go. Okay, so we'll keep an eye on that, and we'll see where we're at on our poll in just a minute. Let's see. Okay, so we've been making some progress here. So we did get our 2 halves put together, and we've got our M3 by 12 screws put in just a ways, and we left some exposed so that our tool head mount sits right up underneath those 2 screws, and the bottom will sit right on the ledge there. Right? So you have to basically pull the bottom out, and it'll come out at an angle. And that right there is that, and the front screws will hold this tight as we print with it. Okay. So next up, we also have to go ahead and put in our 2 belt clamps. Now there's in 3x16s. So we're going to put these in with M3x16s, which I not grab. Where did I put them? Random screws went running away. I feel like I'm like feeling so disheveled right now, and I don't know why. I know why. We're just going to blame it on Evil Diesel. It's his fault because he came by and distracted me. Coffee still counts for hydration, right? Yes, no, I'm not going to blame this on you, Westry. I'll blame this one on Evil Diesel. He threw me off by bringing me a care package, and yeah. So I'm looking for my M3x16 screws that I know I had in a bag. It's like 2 things that I've like completely lost today. We will see if these are M3x16 or M3x18s. M3x24, those will not work. Sorry about this, folks. Let's see. These are 18, but they should still work because they're going into the gap between, they're going into the gap right here, so they should still work. So your clamps, you have the smooth edge, and then you have a textured edge. The textured edge is going to go against the inside of the plastic part. So this sits in that slot. Sorry. They'll each go in that slot right there. And I believe 18s will work, and if not, 18s will work for now, and I'll have to swap these out as well a little bit later on once I find the M3x16s. I can swear I had around here. Oh yeah, these should be fine. And so once again, we're just pre-positioning these. They will need to be, a little bit loose because you're going to have to run your belts through it and stuff. But we'll get there shortly. Yes, coffee is a food group, Westery, and I will say Mrs. Dragon was so kind as to stop by Dunkin' on her way back to the house. So as you can see, I have Dunkin' coffee. Yeah, so I will say fully tightened. I do have just a bit of a gap there still. So like I said, we're going to back those off and just let them sit loosely because we will be running belts through there. And then next up, we will install the actual inductive probe sensor. Words are coming so hard to me today, and I don't know why. And oh, guess what, guys? I found my M3x16 screws. I knew I had them here. They were sitting right there. They would have bit me. Now I have the inductive probe because it came with everything else.
Could you try?
Apparently Siri's trying to help me out because I've lost my mind. Okay guys, I am obviously very much scatterbrained tonight. And I'm having a hard time focusing. I believe our poll has ended. Hey Pete Savas, how's it going? Thank you for following. Once again, we're having a great stream tonight. I can't find an end stop that I need, and now I need to go searching for my inductive probe that I know has been here because it's been here for about a month now. I just need to figure out what I did with it. So bear with me. I'm going to hydrate real fast. Yeah, blame. I honestly can't blame work because we did have meetings right up until I had to get ready for this, so I was scrambling a bit. You know, the joys of going into management and having some people stuff. But I'm going to put the Be Right Back screen back on for a second. But before I do that, let me check out the results of our poll and see what everybody thought. Okay, we only had one person vote on the poll, and it was for the Clockwork 2. Okay. And anybody willing to share? I'm kidding. No, we will go ahead and build it with Clockwork 2, not a problem. In fact, who knows? Maybe we'll do it as a Clockwork 2 and then do a change out and swap it over to the LGX in another tag. You never know. But y'all give me a second. I'm going to try and get my act together. I'm going to find that probe real fast and hopefully find the end stop at the same point. So bear with me very shortly here, and I will be right back to you. Okay, so good news. We did find some parts. We did find the RGB LEDs that'll go in the stealth burner. We do have our dual board tool head board, and we did find our Voron sensor. So let's go ahead and continue on the build here. Oh, you're playing WoW, Evil Diesel? Yeah, I haven't played that in quite a long time, honestly. So this is the Voron TL-Q5 MC2Z. Okay. And this is a sensor I used on the other Switchwire, and it worked perfectly fine, didn't have any issues with it. So you get a lot of people that say, oh, you have to put some type of Kapton tape or other type of insulating tape on them. They've even used some of the like the aluminum tape that you actually do ductworks with. And yeah, don't have any issues with it like that. Haven't had any issues. Of course, I'm not running my switch wires enclosed and doing like polycarbonate or anything like that. So it's not that big of a deal. Now I will tell you, you do not need this whole like long amount of cable, because once again, you're running it to a tool head board versus running it all the way back to the electronics compartment. So we're going to literally just lop off a chunk, and that way it'll be easier for us to use. Hey, not a problem, Pete Savis. Yeah, so I will say, do you have an Ender 3 or an Ender 3 Pro or V2? And so once again, I just lopped off an amount. It doesn't have, I mean, it can't be too short, but I give myself plenty of room that I can work with. Okay, it's an OG Ender 3, which has the single 2040 Y support rail for the Y carriage. Oh, you haven't played since the Panda expansion? I think I looked at the Panda expansion a little bit, Royal Nomi, but I haven't played in years. Okay, so Pete Savis, the conversion that we're doing, that I pinned the link in the go live for this one, is called the Dark Dog mod, and it's made for the Ender 3 V2 or the Ender 3 Pro, and that's because it uses the 4040 front extrusion. There is another mod out there in the on the Voron Design GitHub under the user mods section that will work for a standard Ender 3, what I refer to as the OG Ender 3, which is the one I have over here in the Wham Bam Hotbox. I would suggest kind of blending the two, simply because the mod that you're looking at here with the Dark Dog mod, let me move a couple of things out of the way. So with the Ender 5 and I believe the version 1 or Rev 1 of the Dark Dog mod, you strictly use the standard base extrusions. So you would put your grill right here. And that means that your bed is still going to flap forward of the legs, which isn't a balance thing, but one, it's an aesthetic thing, and two, you would not be able to enclose it. So what I would suggest is do the base at a minimum of the Dark Dog Rev 2 to give you that fully enclosable space, and it also gives you more room underneath for your electronics because you get to use that whole cavity space for the electronics. Oh, you're fine, Pete. Don't worry about busting my flow today. It was busted early on. Like I said, I still haven't found the end stops, and of course, when you buy things like end stops, you don't buy one. You buy like half dozen or a dozen. And so somewhere I've got a collection of end stops running around here that I'm pretty sure I had laid out, but I've been trying to do some Gridfinity prints and start some organization around here, and apparently I organized myself to the point where I can't find things. So yeah, and I want to say there was another mod for the OG Ender. Now mind you, on a standard Switchwire build, it uses a 2020 extrusion, but it's a supported 2020 extrusion that's got two cross braces on it that go across. So it's more supported that way. It would still work in this design with the 2040 extrusion. But like I said, I think I like having this plan form, and there was one of those mods that still lets you do the full plan form to do an enclosed printer, but it required you buying additional extrusions versus just printing them. So there's different ways that you could go about doing it. So yeah. You know what, Evil Diesel, I just saw that about loving Dragonflight. That is the one reason why I would go back to playing WoW right now, is to fly dragon. So, but yeah, there's various mods out there. Pete Savas, hey Daddy Wazzy, how's it going? Yes. Oh, hey Subsector, how are you doing? Sorry, I got to chatting and was going off on a tangent there. Yeah, definitely. You guys are really cold down there in Texas, aren't you, Royal Nomi? Like unseasonably cold like you were a few years back. Hey Titan Gamer, how are you tonight? Yeah, the Dragonflight, you know, everything I've heard about it's really good. One of my sons still plays WoW on the regular, so I get my WoW fix from listening to him. Chris has been the same. Yeah, so this has been a great night. It's kind of like how disheveled can Digital Dragon be on stream this evening. We started off opening up a couple of boxes. I did get a new router in today, so after today's stream, I'm going to spend the evening, unless Mrs. Dragon tells me otherwise, because she needs to watch her TV shows. I'm going to spend the evening getting the new router hooked up and see if, I don't know, coming to a router that was made in this decade helps with my network connectivity. And hopefully it does, but regardless, Evil Diesel's still going to come over and help me, and we're going to run wired Ethernet up here into the Dragon Cave, the Dragon Lair. And then we opened up a box from Evil Diesel. He sent me a care package, or I shouldn't say sent, he brought over a care package. Westry, are you on the phone with Subsector again? So anyhow, Evil Diesel sent me a care package with a wonderful set of tools. I will post these later, but apparently I needed some big boy tools, Subsector. So Evil got me some big boy tools. And yeah, I was going to try them out on the build, but I'm not sure if they'll hold up too well on the build. So he also got me some resin, which is interesting because, you know, I have nothing but FDM printers, except I now have a Mars 2 Pro and a wash and cure station, care of Evil Diesel and his wife. So I will be getting into the realm of resin printing shortly as well. As soon as we're done with this project, we'll break that one out. Mia! How's it going, Mia? Is Westry giving you treats? She better be giving you treats. Oh yes, I am sure your hammer is bigger than mine, and I do have bigger hammers than that one, but yeah. Exactly. Every once in a while, you don't necessarily have to hit them with the big hammer, but you know, you got to take it out, show it off, let them know it's there, and then they start acting a little right. Yes, we are fixing the network very soon. I'm assuming that we're having some network latency issues, Evil Diesel. Well, good, as long as she's gotten her treats today. So yes, we will continue with the Clockwork 2 build then, per everybody's request. I did have a poll open, Subsector and Titan, earlier on in the stream, because there's two options that I can go with this. I can build it with Clockwork 2 using a standard Bondtech BMG gearing system, or I do have on hand a Bondtech LGX Lite that I could install on this as well. So one way or the other, I don't care either way. I'll build it either way, or as I mentioned, I may build it Clockwork 2 and later down the road put in the LGX Lite and be able to compare and contrast between the two. Okay, sorry about that, Evil Diesel. Yeah, I even have a stream delay on specifically to try and combat any network latency issues that I'm having. So I apologize for that. Well, you know, every once in a while, Westry, I have seen some printers that look like they have been gently touched with a hammer or two. Oh, the techie thing I just showed? So this is a Bondtech LGX Lite. And sorry, you know, it's going to be a slow build day because we will just keep opening this up and showing it off because I think it's cool. So you're familiar with the standard Bondtech's BMG and the gear sizes on those. Well, the LGX and the LGX Lite refer to large gear. And so this goes through a couple of different gearings, and then the final drive gears are these two larger gears. So these actually have your, these are your tooth gears at the end. They're a hardened steel tooth gear. And the difference is on a regular set of BMG gears, you're getting 2 to 3 teeth that engage the filament. It's normally 2 on one side and 1 on the other that where you're engaging the filament. On the LGX, you're getting 3 to 5 teeth at a time that's engaging the filament. So, no, so the Sherpa Mini and the Orbiter still use the standard BMG drive gears, the dual BMG drive gears. The difference is the gearing in the back for the Orbiter uses a 3-gear planetary gearbox. So you have 3 smaller gears that go around the tooth gear on the motor shaft, where on standard BMG you are, give me 1 second to see if I can get this one. On a standard BMG, your tooth gear on your motor is engaging, I think it's a 50 or 50, I think it's a 50. Okay, I just dropped the set screw out of that, so that'll be fun. Ooh. All right, folks, give me 1 minute here before I lose a set screw. That would be a bad day. So your 10-tooth gear engages with this, and that provides the gear reduction to get you the more torque out of your standard BMG motor. Okay, and so your standard BMG gears are, of course, the Bondtech BMG, the Prusa Mark III and Prusa Mini use the BMG gear system. So the standard gear systems like this. In your Voron Clockwork 2 and Clockwork 1 would use that as well. On the Bondtech, and once again I'm trying to be very careful here, your 10-tooth pulley engages a larger outer gear here that also has a smaller inner gear, and then that inner gear then rotates with the 2 larger drive gears. So it's really it's different gearing ratios that gives you more torque, and then add on to the torque the fact that you've got more teeth and surface area that are actually able to bite into the filament. So the LGX and the LGX Lite are really, really good for TPUs, which I know is something near and dear to your heart. And then the other nice thing with the LGX gears versus the BMG, on the BMG you've got a standard, I'll say a knurled nut and a spring, and so you're using that long knurled nut screw and a spring to set the tension. On the LGX, so the way this little lever is set right now, it's fully open. So if you were to look down through the shaft, you would be able to take a piece of filament and run it straight through with no problem. And that's the loading position. You go 1 click to the middle, you're now set up for lighter tension for a TPU or a TPE. If you go fully to the right, you're now set up for the full tension for any standard filament. So PLA, ABS, PETG, exactly. So that's very nice that it's just a simple, all the way to the left, I'm now inserting or removing filament. And if I'm going to be using TPU, it's 1 click, and it's a notable click, right? And if you go all the way over, then you're already pre-tensioned for standard 1.75 filament. Oh, and what it was I dropped a little tiny set screw, and that set screw was hung up between the metal edge and the actual melamine top in the of my table here. So I had to grab it real fast before I lost it forever. Because if it made itself all the way down to the carpet, it's gone. It ain't ever coming back. Mr. Vacuum Cleaner will get it next. Yeah, and that controls the tension on the filament itself. Now, Evil Diesel, we fixed a lot of comm gear with Big Hammer. Especially, our T-Muxes. I can't remember the ones we had in Germany. The big, like 8 or 12U rack mount T-Muxes. Yeah, those in the satellite. Yeah, we won't talk about that. We might get ourselves in trouble. Yeah, I have some magnets too, but yeah. Oh yeah, the old 86 vans, yeah. Yeah, gentle is a subjective term, Titan. So is a love tap. Love tap means different things to different people. Just saying. Oh yeah, one of the ones that's made for garages or workshops where it's on the wheels and you can just roll it around and pick up everything. That's a good idea. That's a good idea. So anyhow, we are back to our Omron sensor. This is our inductive probe. Subsector. What am I going to do with you, girl? Love taps, yeah. So, okay, so you guys may be hearing some printers going on in the background. A little bit of a squeak that you keep hearing. Move you around some so that you can see. We'll come over to the big screen here. So the squeaky that you're hearing is the Prusa Mini. That squeak right there. Nothing wrong with it. It actually gets louder. So the gearing in the Bondtech extruder that we put on it over the weekend, it's a different gearing. So you have to go in and change some values both in the printer limits config as well as in your slicer and I'm still trying to find the sweet spot. What you're hearing is the motor retracting. So it's slowing down the speed and the acceleration for retracts. And believe it or not, that's the suggested speeds that I'm running right now were the suggestions from Joseph Prusa himself. Very, very true, Pete. If you have non-ferrous screws, and believe it or not, some of your stainless steel screws are magnetic, some of them are not. There are different blends of stainless steel, and there are some non-magnetic versions of stainless steel. And I don't know if the titanium ones, if you feel like going that route, there are a lot of people that try and go for very light tool heads to get fast acceleration speeds on their Vorons. And they go out and they get titanium screws and titanium parts. I'm not chasing that. Exactly, bashing like a shield wall, Westry. Or bashing like you get bashed with, I don't know, a Captain America shield. Yes, that's a couple of the SCADA's pegboards that I put up. I was originally planning on running them behind the printers, but I realized they'll be less functional that way because I'd have to reach around a printer as it's printing, and I didn't want to. and I'll say kind of that bassier hum is the Voron V0 going right now. It's printing some new front pieces in case I was going to go with the LGX. There needs to be a little bit of space cut out on the side to allow for the tool boards to work. So I was going ahead and printing that stuff. Yeah. So subsector, I will say, yes, I kind of made a suggestion and put Westry on the hook for maybe printing another shield after she said she would never do that again. So I did tell her that I was going to foot the bill for the filament for it. So there's filament en route to her now to help and aid with that endeavor. And the one printer that you probably can't hear right now, and I'll scoot this out of the way for just a moment, is our Prusa Bear that's printing right here, Purple Haze. This is the one that we put the linear rails on. And I will tell you, I had so much shake and shimmy on the old bed and with the 8mm linear rods and bearings. It's still pretty great. Still got great prints off of it. But doing some gyroid infill, you would think that it's shaking itself apart. And we went and put linear rails on the bed on a maintenance stream that we did as an ad hoc on Sunday. And so much quieter. Oh dear God, so much quieter. So yeah, that's great. The one in the corner is my OG Ender 3. It is super quiet because it's running a Big Tree Tech SKR Mini E3 with 2209 drivers. So it's silent drivers all over the place. And it is also running linear rails for the Y and X axis. And so yes, that one is my, I think I have well over 3,000 hours printing on that printer on an Ender 3. I wore the wheels off, I replaced the wheels once, and then the second time I said the heck with it and went with linear rails on the Y and the X axis. And it's currently also rocking a Sherpa Mini extruder in direct drive. Thank you, Subsector. Yes, I have several. And normally I would have the well, heck, let me go ahead and add. Let me turn on that one. This is a picture of Purple Haze. It's printing some more Gridfinity stuff right now. And normally I'd have another one up, which is Mercury Rising, which is my Ender 5 Plus that's downstairs. It was converted to a 0G, but I don't have any prints running on that at the moment. That is a Wham Bam pop-up enclosure, which is fabulous. Yeah, pretty much Titan Gamer. It's an inner frame. The inner screen is still stock. The Z lead screw is still stock. Power supply is still stock. Yes, so the Ender 5 in the Wham Bam enclosure right now is Black Dragon. The Mark III that's down on the bottom is an all blacked out self-sourced Mark III, and that is Prusa Stealth. The blacked out Prusa Mark III Bear frame, self-sourced, is Black Bear. The purple accented Mark III that I got from Lisa off of Harshberger, I got that one and revitalized it, and that one is Purple Haze. The big one right behind me is a 300 by 300 by 300 D-bot 4XY system. That is red bot. The switch wire, red and black switch wire is Red Dragon. Then we have baby blue, and the Persimmon is just Persimmon. I haven't named her. I have an Ender 3 Max downstairs that I haven't named yet, and Ender 5 Plus that was converted to a 0G Mercury 1, which is the Core XY gantry system, and a Hydra triple lead screw kinematic bed, and it's named Mercury Rising. Thank you, Westery, for gifting Subsector a Tier 1 sub. That is so nice of you. So Subsector, I did... Oh, that's me. Sorry. I did reach affiliate status over the weekend. So I was talking with Westery, and she said that you, Royal Nomi possibly, and herself might be able to get together and come up and give me some suggestions on what I might do in an upcoming stream to celebrate my affiliate status, especially since it was all three of you that kept egging me on and just saying, just get started. We don't care what the content is. Just get started. You'll figure it out. So, thanks, Pete Savas. It's been a kind of a mad dash to get here. Thanks, Subsector. But yeah, that's just the first stepping stone. Hey, Hybrid Robotics, how are you doing today? Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. I swear we are going to make some type of progress on this today. Even if, kind of like the gantry, I will have to take it back apart and redo some things. So once again, I am missing an end stop that, after looking at this, there will be an end stop that I will have to mount right in here in this gap. And so I will have to take this back apart, whatever we do, and I'll do that off stream to mount that end stop. I know I have them. I bought like 10 or 12 of them when I bought them. It's just I can't locate them at the moment. Oh gosh. Don't even get started on hype trains. And if you do that, okay, I won't complain. Canterbury Farms now, or Canterbury Oak, Farm is now following. Thank you, Westery. That way we can get the chicks on stream as well. Yeah, so I've got the lav mic going, but what I need to do is get a wireless one. It'll be a little bit easier. And also, Westery, I know you started doing the Premier Protein shakes. Protein 2.0 water is also very good. One, it adds for your water, but these have 15 grams of protein in them. So they're also good. Get to keep yourself hydrated. So on our probe, we're going to install this with two M3 by 20 screws, socket head cap screws, and these do need to be socket head cap screws in order to engage the depth of it. Sorry. I swear eventually I'm going to get my Gridfinity system and have everything right on the bench top. And so there's this pocket here, and that's exactly where this is going to slide into and mount. And there's two. Here, let me go a little. Oh, we got a hype train started. Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Canterbury Oaks Farm, for the 100 bits. Subsector for the 14 bits with another 13 bits as well. Chick bits. Yes, yes. I got some chick bitties. That's awesome. Your bits aren't working, so I see them pop up. Is that 14 and 13? Or is that 4 and then 3? Thank you, Titan Gamer, for subscribing. Oh, wow. All right. Level 1 hype train. First hype train, and I'm already making levels. This is awesome. Thank you, guys. And we got some ducks, too. Awesome. Awesome. So yeah, that's one of the things I'm gonna have to start working on too, is getting some emotes added and things like that so that we can get things going. So we just went over level 1. We're at a level 2 hype train now. Yes, definitely. I got me some Polymaker. Oh, in fact, so my good buddy back in Colorado, his kids saw some of the dragons that I have, that I printed, like some MacGyver dragons and some of the Cinderwing dragons. So when I go out to Rocky Mountain Rep Rap Festival in April, they've already said, "Oh, that is so cool. Can I get one of these? Can I get one of these?" And so I was like, "Yeah, sure. Let me know what colors you want." And so I had to go out and get some more colors because one of them wanted gold and the other one wanted a deep red. So what the one of them wanted a MacGyver dragon in gold, and then the other one wanted a rose dragon from Cinderwing in a dark red. So I figured, okay, well, Polymaker has 2 different kinds of gold, so I went ahead and got silk gold, and the regular gold is supposedly like a gold metallic. And so I'm gonna do some small prints just to see what they look like and how they come out like. And then I might send samples over, pictures of those samples over, say, okay, which one do you like better? And then for the red, I picked up the silk red, and this one is the silk rose color. So silk rose and silk red, and we're going to see how these 2 print out. Make sure I get the right one in the right place again. Oh. So yeah, we're gonna get some dragons going. Oh yeah, that would be great, Subsector. Thank you so much. Yeah, it looks kind of like the Christmas gold, but they said it's a metallic gold with no actual metal in it, if I remember right. So it wouldn't require like an abrasive resistant nozzle or anything. Oh, thanks for the 100 bits, Royal Nomi. That is awesome. Thank you so much. Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, so eventually I'm gonna be adding to the stream a little bit more. We'll get some background music going, hopefully. Just try and add some emotes and stuff like that. Yeah, I am looking so forward. Like I said, I'm probably going to do some little test prints just so I can get some colors, and then take some photos and show them over to my buddy and let him show the kids and see which ones they really like. And if they can't, if they can't figure out which one they like, I might just do one in each color and they'll have more. Okay, so on our probe here, we're gonna continue to let that. We got 20 seconds left in our hype train, and we're in. We cleared a level 1 and we're going to a level 2, so that's awesome. So awesome. And so on on our piece here, you'll notice right in the middle, my hand out of the back so you can see through it. There are two holes, and those holes are slots. All right, thank you everybody. We did complete a level 1 hype train, and we were 6% into a level 2 hype train. Thank you so much for that. That is awesome. I have seen the Blood of My Enemies from Protopasta. That stuff is awesome. So awesome. Okay, and so I will tell you that these were M3 by 20. I'm going to verify that they were M3 by 20. And there is no way that they're making it all the way through. And I don't even think 25s will, so I think I'm going to wind up going to M3 by 30s on this. Just to see how far those go through. And I remember that I had to deviate a little bit on this as well. No, maybe not. Maybe we will have to go with 25s. Critters are needy? Critters are needy. They most definitely are. No, I have 3 of these, so I'm almost out, but we got more on order that'll be here in a couple days. But yes, the Blood of My Enemies is a beautiful color. I know Sith Lord Brit likes it a lot. So yeah, there's definitely some protopastas that I'd really like to get my hands on and try. I'm thinking, do I take an extra suitcase with me to Rocky Mountain Rep Rat Fest so I can bring some back with me? And if not, you know, I'm definitely going to when Murph rolls around. I'll be driving up to Murph, so I do tend to come back with things. Oh, hey, Tom Josh, how are you doing? Heading off to work? Okay. Please forgive me. I'm the Starbucks is too far away. This is closer. But you know I like my Starbucks, but I'm just not going to drive to the other side of town to get it. Yeah, Protopasta has some awesome colors, and they have some really awesome, you know, just filaments itself. I'm just not sure if we're going to... All right, so 25s looked like it barely comes through. 30s look like they're going to be way too long. I wonder if they make like 27mm one. So what I'm looking at here is the manual says to do 20s. Now, as you can see, this sticks out proud quite a ways. Well, actually, maybe it was just I didn't have everything pushed back. Let me see. This is one of those things that you have to just deal with because I'm following the instructions for a normal switch wire. And this is, I'll say, not a normal switch wire build, as obvious. Okay, 25s will work. Should have just enough. Yes, the Nebula and Galactic Purple, those are some nice colors as well. Yes, Evil Diesel, I know that we have some great local coffee shops. Yes, I need to patronize local more. I really do, you know, I really prefer to go local. In fact, when we go to Murph, because you're coming with me, right? There is a local coffee shop there that is just awesome. Okay, so now I get to find little parts again. I've been so distracted. Oh. Okay, pertinent little part. The little thin part that we have to put our two heat set inserts in, that is what goes behind here and will hold our it will hold our probe on, and there's enough play in the probe that you can move it up and down a little bit, and that'll be what we'll need to do to actually tune it in once we get it mounted and going. You've never been to any of the nerd festivals? Whoops. What part of the country are you in, Titan Gamer? Okay, and you can see that little piece that just sits right there, and we've got our probe mounted now. Okay, so, and like I said, I left this long purposefully. It's going to come up through the center channel, and right out through the side there's a channel printed in for those wires, and your the wires that will come from the end stop will do the same thing. They'll come up through that channel and out. Next, we will mount our carriage with some M3x8 socket head screws. And so this plate will mount to the carriage on the linear rail, and then the print head carriage will mount to it. And the orientation is with the larger printed gap down at the bottom. I'll just get those lined up and get them started. Yeah, so Earth might be doable for you, Titan Gamer. That's great. So you're in the southeast. Okay, so Murph is in Goshen, Indiana. It's kind of up in the Chicago area. And the nice thing about Murph is my younger son used to live like literally 5 minutes from the venue. So it was really easy to get there. Hey, Bionic, thank you for joining us tonight. So I would go up and stay with him. Now he's moved a little bit further away, so I think he said it's about like a 40 or 45-minute drive. But I'll go up and stay with him, and that saves me on hotel. And then when I go out to Rocky Mountain Rep Fest, my in-laws live in Denver, outside of Denver. So I'll be able to fly in Denver and stay there, so I don't have to worry about hotels and stuff. I'll just have a little bit of a drive over to Loveland in the mornings. Yeah, the hotel and gas is the costly part. Like driving up to Murph, I think it's a 12 and a half, 13-hour drive, and I'll fill up once on the way there in the truck, and then I can normally drive around, fill up before I leave, and fill up once when I'm almost home. Yeah, so this, pretty much the only thing you use of an Ender 3 for this particular build is the frame. That's it. You can reuse the motors. I am using, it's not the original Y motor on this one. I did use it on the red one behind me. I did use the original Y motor on that one. But this is a Creality, but it's a 4240 motor rather than the 4234, which is the standard Creality motors. And that just let me run a standard pulley, which makes lining up the belt a little bit easier. And then you can use the X and Z motors off of an Ender 3 for the X and Z motors here, but you really have to look at, because they have the pressed pulleys on them, you have to make sure you use the right one to line it up accordingly. Yeah, the only one I don't have a hookup for would be IRF, which is up in Maryland. The closest family member I have there is my brother, who's in Fredericksburg, Virginia. And just with traffic, that would be a pain in the butt. But I may know somebody who has friends in that area. Hint, hint, wink, wink. He knows who he is. And we've already talked about that maybe being a possibility this next year. So we got that installed, and then our carriage will mount to that. And once again, these are M3 by 12 screws. And you'll see these will line up right in to the 4 depression holes there. Apparently that's a thread that I didn't chase earlier. Oh, there we go. And it looks like M3 by 12s will not work here, so we're going to have to go to our M3 by 16s. And once again, my instructions that I'm going off of are for the standard Voron Switchwire, and the these are some modified parts to support the Ender wire conversion. So it's just a matter of making some adjustments here and there. And you find out as soon as you start putting it together that a screw is not going to be long enough or be too long, and you adjust accordingly. That should work, especially if I put them in from the right direction. You had the hookups for us. Awesome. So it looks like okay, so the bottom, so the bottom two screws go through more plastic, so the 16s were definitely going to be used on the bottom, and the top actually looks, because these are more indented, like we might have to go down from the 12s to a 10. Yeah, those should work because we're going into the plastic piece versus into the linear rail itself. Sorry about that. Figured you had the hookups for us, Eel Diesel. That was the nod, nod, wink, wink. So what are you doing this evening, Bionic? You working on anything particular, or are you just hanging out with us? And when you put this on, you're basically lining up the two printed parts together is about the size of the truck. So you're just trying to line that up spatially, and that should get you lined up with the holes, maybe. Apparently should and do are two different things. I'm feeling it, but it's not engaging. So, a second here. So that's not going to work. Apparently, on this particular build, we don't use that small the adapter plate for the carriage. I think we just go straight in. Once again, the Dark Dog mod does not have the Dark Dog mod does not have an instruction manual. So I'm trying to adapt as I go. And while I have built one of these before, it was a couple of months ago. So apparently the brain has been used on other things. And I thought this was looking a little funny because this channel that you're seeing on this adapter plate would be where the wire for the probe would normally come up on a standard switchwire build. So somehow I must have added a part to the build all on my own. There we go. That's going to fit in there a lot nicer. Sorry about that, folks. Yes, so I did use the inductive probe on the other switch wire as well. I know there's a lot of people in the standard switch wire community that have gone over to either the clicky probe or they've got, depending on which model, there's various things that you could do. There's tap as well. Tap is not approved for a switch wire build. Therefore, I will not be putting tap on this or the other switch wire. However, I have heard that there still is a tap in beta for the Mini. I'm sorry, not for the Mini, for the, for the Mini afterburner for the Voron Zeros. So they just have not released that yet. So oh wow, Bionic. So you're a 3D printer for about 4 years and you graduated as an additive manufacturing technician about 2 months ago. Okay. Oh yeah, definitely. You know, if you can start your own business and get one off the ground, additive manufacturing is awesome. Hey, Evil Diesel, thank you for gifting Bionic a tier 1 gift sub. That is awesome. Yeah, the 3D printing space has just gone crazy and is booming right now. And I see, like 3D Printing Nerd and some other, I think CNC Kitchen and maybe even, no, I don't think Angus posted anything yet, but I see people that have gone to Form Next and seeing some of the stuff that they're bringing in, and like the true metal laser centered additive manufacturing, and then coming back in the same platform and converting the tool head over to subtractive manufacturing and going in and doing finish passes as a CNC mill to get complete tight tolerances that you need. Just some of that stuff just blows me away. And I'm sitting here pushing plastic going, well, it's good enough for me. I might have to just scrape the side off a little bit to make it work. But, these guys are turning out parts for aviation and space or buildings and stuff like that. It's awesome how far the technology has come in so short of a time. Yeah, that's the thing, Titan Gamer, with the Voron tap system. If you're not familiar with it, with tap, you actually add a very short linear rail. I believe it's an MGN 9 rail with a 9C carriage, and you're literally touching the tip of your nozzle, that's not going to work, but you're touching the tip of the nozzle itself to the bed surface, and it's moving the head up just a little bit, and you're probing your nozzle directly off the bed surface. So the nice thing with that is it's very, very accurate. From what they've shown, it's very accurate. It's very, very repeatable. But you need a rigid bed. So the Trident beds with the triple lead screw is good enough. Of course, the Voron 2.4 bed, because it's direct mount and it's non-movable, is also secure enough for it. And it's just with the Voron Switchwire, you're on springs, so the bed itself can move a little bit and induce some variance in your probing. I'm assuming that if you're on linear rails and you hard mount the bed like a you know, like a Prusa, then I don't see why it wouldn't be rigid enough for a tap. But yeah, you add, I think they said it's something like 40 plus grams added to the weight. But quite honestly, I don't chase grams, and I'm looking at tap going, yeah, it's a lot more in the tool head itself that could go wrong. And it looks great. It's a cool little thing, but I don't think I'll ever do a tap on a kit unless it's the only thing that comes with the kit. In which case I still may self-source and go with the standard probe. Okay, so we've got this mounted to the carriage now, and it tells us to loosen up our motors, and basically we're going to loosen them and we're going to pull them all the way up, which I have already done. They're at their max height. And the next thing we're going to do is start routing belts. Yay. So I'm thinking, because the next thing it wants me to do is route belts, and I know that I'm going to have to take this off to, and probably going to take it off and take it apart off stream to get that end stop wired in there, because that end stop is going to be what's going to keep us from going all the way over. So I am going to hold off on doing the belts this stream, just because if we do work on the belts, I'm going to have to take those off as well. And it's just one more added thing I'll have to take off to get this carriage off, to add in that end stop and the wires. So what we will do though is go ahead and do a little bit of other work that we bypassed earlier. We had installed our keyback mount, but we didn't install the keyback because the piece that I printed that will hold it in place, well, I couldn't find the one I originally printed, or I just didn't print it. So I had to reprint it. So we will jump back in time a little bit and check real fast. I think these will go at 12. I think we used 12 on this. We'll just go ahead and get this mounted. And I did go through and chase a lot of holes on the stealth burner and CW2 parts, and I just didn't go through and chase all the holes all the way around. Otherwise, these would just slip straight in instead of having to screw them through. Okay, so you also have the clipper running on the big tree tech. Yeah, the printer config I sent you off of my Ender 3 should work on your Ender 3 Pro. Just basically drop and go. Except, you know, if you're going to use the BL Touch, it would be a little bit different setup because I've got the Pinda probe on mine. Yeah, that's the other thing. So I'm running a Mic 6 build plate with a 24 volt 250 watt Canovo heating pad, silicone heating pad on my Ender 3, and I have a Wham Bam flex plate on there. Or that's an option. Right now it's got a black Ulti-Stick build surface on it. So these are very, very, yeah. All right, Luke, figure it out. Yeah, there we go, this camera. These are really nice. I like these. They're kind of, I'll say they're bougie Gucci, whatever you want to call it. I do have the standard Ulti sticks as well on a couple of systems. I've got a few of the Wham Bam hex sheets. I gave Evil Diesel a couple, and I'm running a Penda probe as an inductive sensor on mine versus a BL Touch on that particular printer. So yeah, so with Clipper, one of the easy ways to get it going, if you like Mainsail, is just to drop Mainsail OS on your Raspberry Pi, and you can do that directly through the Raspberry Pi or the Raspberry Imager software. And if you can also use Kaya, the Clipper install and update helper. I am doing that on my 0G and my Switchwire Red Dragon, because the Red Dragon is running the BigTreeTech Manta 4P board, which has the integrated CB1 module, which is the integrated Raspberry Pi, and then Mercury Rising downstairs, the 0G, is running the BigTreeTech Manta M8P with a CB1 module. And so that you there's no Raspberry Pi Imager. Well, you can use Raspberry Pi Imager, but you have to load BigTreeTech's baseline Clipper install, or at least their baseline image. So I did the baseline Debian image from them, and then use Kaya to do the rest of the install from there. But if you want to run the fluid front end versus Mainsail, you need to go with Kaya or just manually hand jam and install everything. And Chewy 2420, who's been on the stream, as well as some others, he's already converted his Focus over to Clipper. Before you mount this, make sure that your key back is in the unlocked position, because if you mount it like that, you're going to have to unmount it so you can remove it out of the unlocked or out of the locked position so you can use it. And then it's just a matter of putting it on there and screwing the screws in to clamshell it. Make sure you get both screws started before you put any ugga duggas into it. Yeah, and so subsector, you might find this interesting too, because I know that on one of your Focus machines, you put a different hot end on it, or a different tool head. And Evil Diesel actually has designed a new tool head that will use the, I think you're using the Focus extruder and a Revo Micro. Yeah, I do know that there's some people that will, you know, they're fully in the fluid bandwagon. When I first started, I started with Mainsail and went with Mainsail OS on the build, and so I mean, 6-1 half dozen the other. One's red, one's blue. You can change that if you want, color-wise on either one. But I've just been kind of team Mainsail from the get-go. Now, because there's a lot of tension in this keyback, don't try and loop it over and then bring it down and mount the clip in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to push that in, and then I'm literally going to turn it over and mount that key back in. That way I'm not playing with a lot of tension when I first put that in. And I'm going to go see what they say to use for that. Maybe if I can find it. Did they not do the keyback install yet? Oh, there we go. It's coming up. 3x12s again. So definitely have these, ready to go. Yep. So have these ready to go because, like I said, it is under some tension. And you just want to reduce the amount of tension on there and get these started. Camera angle probably wasn't all that good for it. But we just installed this piece here, so it's just a little cupped piece. It mounts right to the back of that, and now we can take our keyback string, pull it out, and we're going to loop it right over our upper idler. Right, and that isn't that I don't have the idler fully locked down yet, and you'll want to play with it just to make sure that it's moving nice and easily. And you want this as much as possible up and down, and that looks good. So we will go ahead and lock that down and just do a little bit ugga-dugga and make sure that that's locked in. Okay, so that has a standard Revo in it, and you're using, did you get a second micro switch, or did you take the one off the Delta? Yeah, I don't know. So I will tell you this, Evil Diesel, he started off, his first printer was a Castle Mini Delta build. And I printed all the parts for him that he needed, and he started building it. And of course, there's some growing pains. Deltas are a little more challenging than a standard bed flapper to dial in and get configured right. And so I noticed he was getting a little frustrated, so I bought him a Focus. And I figured, okay, I'll get him a Focus, that way he can start printing and get some success under his belt, right? So he doesn't get frustrated. So I get him the Focus. We get him the Focus, and I take it over there, we unbox it, we get it all set up, we get it turned on, everything's looking great, and we got to load filament, and it won't load filament. Can't get the extruder motor to work. And we unplugged it, we troubleshot it. I went back and got another motor from my house and went back and tried a different motor, and that motor ran, so it's like, okay, it's a motor issue. out of ribbon cable. We went around with subsector and we tried and we reset every cable. We tried putting a couple of different cables, ribbon cables in, because I also got them the spare pack, and still no go. So long story short, rather than doing a return, I reached out to Dora and she sent us a new motor. So then we're taking the tool head apart and doing a motor swap on the tool head, and we'll get it working. So the Focus is up and running. Meanwhile, I feel bad because I got him a Focus that should have been a new inbox, break it out and go printer. And so I kind of did like what I did for the donor printer for this, and went on eBay and bought a used one, a used Ender 3 Pro. Now, I set that sucker up, made sure it was humming before it went to Evil Diesel. So I take it over there and he's got success, right? He's got success on a standard plain Jane Ender 3 Pro. It's working, right? And then we get the Focus motor in, we get that situated. So now he's got two printers going, and the Delta becomes the project. And I think he's torn down the Delta, what, about a dozen times or so? And in fact, it may still be torn down, but this is how bad it is, right? So he now has, now mind you, this was, what was this, around like September, October time frame, Evil Diesel? And by now, the Ender 3 has linear rails on the y-axis. I think it's got a new extruder on it. The Delta has iterated around to having a Revo Micro. It had a geared extruder to start with. Then it went to the Micro Swiss extruder. The Focus has come apart and it's getting a redesigned tool head on it, which is going to be the Revo and the Micro Swiss. So, I mean, I've created a monster. Now, mind you, me and Evil Diesel are alike in the same way. Nothing's going to stay stock very long. Thank you, Westry. Yeah, I'm kind of going slow because I don't want to do too much, and then have to take it apart. I'm going to hold off on doing the belts until probably Saturday stream, because I am going to have to take this carriage apart to add the end stop when I find it. But we will clear the workbench, and we might start doing some fun things, like, I don't know, we've got our CW2 parts, we've got our tool head parts. This is it. So for those of you that are in the know, we always look at the whole extruder and say, oh, the stealth burner. Not necessarily true. The fan shroud with the ducting, this is the stealth burner. The extruder parts, this is the CW2, the Clockwork 2 extruder system. The actual hot end is the tool carriage. And then you can have an ADXL mount added to it. So, terminology there, various different things. So in order to do the clockwork, I will have to go and grab the rest of the gear parts for an extruder. So bear with me. I will be right back, and I will just grab a BMG clone and take it apart real fast. So give me 1 second. I am sorry. Thank you about that. I was muted. So you just lost all of that. I like picked up, showed the printer, been carrying on a conversation with ambidexy, and apparently I'm just talking to myself. Thank you. So yeah, we ambidexy, I'll bring you up to speed. We've been working, and at this point I will move over to the main camera. We've been working on our build. As you can see, we've got the whole lower portion done. We've got our Y-axis installed with the 2 linear rails and our bed carriage. We haven't mounted the bed yet, just to keep the weight down and keep it out of the way, basically. We do have our gantry put all together, and we do have our keyback installed, which provides the counterweight for the carriage. I do have to put an end stop on this side of the carriage. I could not find my end stops. I apparently organized so well that I don't know where I put them. So as soon as I find them, I will install those. But meanwhile, we're going to go ahead and start working. Do I still not have audio? Oh, back now. Okay. Okay, good. We are going to start working on doing the actual tool head assembly itself. Sorry, I didn't mute you there for that. And that way we can continue to make progress. I don't want to go through and put the belts on, which would be the next step, because I would have to take the belts off to take the carriage off to do the end stop. So we'll do that on Saturday. But we'll continue to make sure. Which mod are you working on, Modlight? Hey, Blacksmith Pop, thanks for joining in. How are you doing this evening? So what mod have you been working on, Modlight? And did I? No, I did not. Okay, so we're going to have to put in some heat set inserts. I did not put any in on the CW2, partly because I was hoping everybody was going to say LGX Lite. So that was a poll that I did earlier, was do we build the CW2 extruder, or do we just go straight to the Bondtech LGX Lite extruder? And the nice thing with the Bondtech is, well, the CW2 uses Bondtech gearing, but it's the standard smaller Bondtech gears. And the LGX Lite uses larger gears, so you get more teeth. Basically, it's got a better gear reduction system, and the actual teeth on the gear that bites into the filament are larger, so you get more teeth biting into the filament, which gives you more torque and push on the filament. And the nice thing is it's got dedicated settings, so with one lever, it's all the way open for load, unload. You move it one click, and it's for TPU, TPE settings, and another click, and it's for any other rigid filament. Oh, a Z-axis brace mod for the Monoprice Select Maker V2. Okay. Okay, so you missed the poll. Should I open the poll up one more time before we get started then on the actual extruder build? How about I do that? We'll open up a poll, and while we're waiting to figure out which extruder to go with, we'll start off and we'll do the Revo tool head and possibly get into the fans and such on the Stealth Burner shroud. And I'll go ahead and open the poll up since we have a few more people here. Just give me 1 second. Okay. That. And a poll has been started. We do have a little bit of a delay on our stream because of my network. We did talk about that earlier as well. My new router came in today, so after the stream, I will be working through the night to get that up and going and see if I get better connectivity up here in the Dragon layer. And regardless, hopefully I get a speed boost, and if not, or regardless thereof, I'm going to go ahead and get up in the attic and run direct cable up here so that I can be direct connected over wired Ethernet. So we did open that poll back up again, and the question is whether or not we use the standard BMG gearing and the with the printed CW2 extruder, or if we go with the LGX Lite extruder. And once again, that'll run for 10 minutes, and while we do that, we'll open up and start installing our Revo. The nice thing with the Revo, and yes, we did get it from West 3D, so we also got our caramel apple popsicle. That will be for one of the neighborhood kids because I can't eat it. And I got the Voron edition. For those of you that are playing along, LDO Jason and E3D just announced that they have a new version of the Voron that's going to be coming out in all the LDO kits, and the heatsink is blue. Oh yeah, Mod Light, if you need anything printed, you can reach out to myself or just about anybody in the chat. Most people here will print you anything that you need. Yeah, well, and what's even better is, the standard Revo loadout comes with some PTFE tube and the extension cables for connecting to your hot end connecting your hot end up complete with barrels already on there for connecting to your board, and the correct fittings for your thermistor. The good news is we don't need these because we're going to use a tool head board. The lengths of the wires right here are going to be long enough that we can run them up and connect into the tool head board without making any modifications. So that's going to be nice. Okay, you're in Oklahoma, Mod Light? Hey, Oceanacraft. So what we're doing, we can't make too much more progress on the gantry of the interwire right now, because I need to find my end stops and add an end stop into the carriage. So I don't want to run the belts and then have to take all that apart to add the end stop. So we're going to go ahead and we're starting to put together the tool head, and So while a poll is going, we got a poll going right now on whether we build it with a standard Clockwork 2 extruder using regular BMG gears, or if we just go straight and do the full Monty and install the LGX Lite direct out of the gate. Trade you the sucker for parts. So on the tool head here, you skip down to that part in the instructions. I just want to make sure I use the right size bolts. Yeah, so it's going to lay right into the pocket there, and your wires are going to route right up through this channel. So you got to bend it ever so slightly, very gently. Bend just a little bit to get these wires around and then right back up. Okay, it needs a very, very gentle bend. You don't want to yank on this or crank on this because you will mess up that heater. Okay, and then with the wires routed like that, your front cover is going to lay over. Now, as you can see, I've already pre-done the heat inserts in here. I tried to do a lot of that off stream. There may be times when I have to do some on stream just because. And you'll notice that those wires go right in that channel, in the channel there. And you got to make sure that they're up and out of the way. So I'll try and just run the shroud around the edge to make sure that we get them kept in that channel. And then that will go right on there. We didn't pinch any of the wires, and our wires are good. So now we will use a pair of M3 by 12 socket head screws, and that will sandwich these two pieces together. Okay. And then the nice thing is on a standard Voron, the holes at the top, I think, are M2 or M2.5 screws. But the Voron edition actually takes M3s. So you can use standard M3 screws. Acetograph, it depends on you. There is a version of the tool head out there. There is under the, if you go out to the Voron Discord, or not Discord, the Voron GitHub, and go under user mods and do a search, there is a, in fact, I've got one over here. There is a version that somebody made and put out that will work with the Creality tool heads, and I'm not sure if I can get it to focus, but the top here says C-E3, and this is made to fit the Creality hot ends. So you take your Creality hot end, you put some heat set inserts and screw it to the back plate, and then sandwich it, and then the same M3 by 12 screws that will go in there, and you can use your standard Creality hot end without having to switch out. Now you are flow limited with the Creality hot end, but you know, that will mean that you can use it without having to switch out. I would suggest putting in a bimetal heat break though, and getting rid of your PTFE lined heat break. So that would be the easiest way to go without having to buy additional parts. I will tell you that on my V0, I'm running a Dragonfly hot end, and I didn't really like the mini afterburner, or excuse me, the mini afterburner extruder system. I always had problems with it, and I went to a mini after Sherpa. So it's a Sherpa mini extruder that sits on basically the lower half of the hot end mount. Amishman 3D, thank you so much for gifting out tier 1 gift subs. Looks like Steve L3D, Evil Diesel, Aaron F. Geared, Titan's Revenge, and Hybrid Robotics all got free subscriptions. Thank you so much for that. That is great. That's going to bring more people into the community. And I hope through the builds and, you know, I've been doing some impromptu maintenance streams as well, that we can help grow the community. And yeah, it's been a great night so far, Amish man. We did have one little delay on the the switch wire where I can't find my end stop switches. So I will find those off stream and we'll keep going on Saturday. And we're starting to work on the tool head right now. So yeah, sorry, let me scroll back up here. Osito Craft, the easiest way would be to use the standard one. Yeah, it's almost, and I was looking at that as well. So on I don't know if you can tell, but you can see that for the Creality, they're kind of an oval shape opening, where the Micro Swiss is a rectangular opening. So if you know somebody, because I haven't seen a Micro Swiss one for these, you can either get somebody, or if you have the skills, to change the model slightly to allow for it, or print it and just file down, because it's really just the legs. I mean, you should be able to file this, because I was looking at doing the same thing of just filing out as needed to use this particular mount for my standard Ender 1, or my Ender standard. There is a out there on the Voron user GitHub as well. There is a set of files to do the conversion for a standard Ender 1, or excuse me, I keep saying Ender 1, for a standard Ender 3 with the 2040 Y-axis rail. I would suggest blending that mod basically from the Y-axis. Well, I would suggest using the Y-axis portion of that, which would be the bed mount and the Y-axis stuff, and blending it with a lot of the Dark Dog mods that I'm showcasing on this stream, just because the OG Ender 3, I'll say the Ender 3 Mark 1, so to speak, with the 2040 Y rail, the mods that I've seen for that involve buying new side extrusion pieces. And that's an added expense, where with the Dark Dog mod, you can print the extension pieces and you don't have to go out and source new 4040. And then, of course, if you source the 4040, you have to drill it and counter drill it to be able to mount it to the base. It's just a little bit more involved than, you know, doing the printed parts to extend the lower base piece. I will tell you, I use silicone socks on all the hot ends that I can for two reasons. One, it insulates the hot end, so you lose less heat when like the AC kicks on or from any draft, or even when the part cooling fan kicks in. I've actually had thermal errors because I increased the part cooling, which of course is focused at the nozzle tip. And so when the part cooling kicked on, it dropped the temp on at the nozzle or at the thermistor on the heater block so quickly that it gave me a thermal error and shut down the printer. So immediately you put a silicone sock on it, that goes away. Right? So I will highly suggest a silicone sock for that reason, as well as the dreaded blob. We will all have a failed print. Either you have had one or you will have one that will encase the heater block. If you have a silicone sock on, as long as you have not damaged the heater block wiring, you can heat up that heater block to like 180, 190 if it's PLA, and it will start softening up, and you can start going in and peeling that blob off. And eventually I've had it where I've pulled straight down on it and pulled the blob off with the silicone sock. And if you want, you can try and save it, or you can just chuck it with the blob and put a new sock on and go. Yeah, the silicone boots, I just look at them as added peace of mind from any potential thermal, and it's not a thermal runaway, but it could trigger that in your firmware if you have your firmware configured appropriately to catch thermal runaway errors. And like I said, it'll help dramatically with the dreaded blob. So, yeah, if you're seeing temp fluctuations, now on the bed temp, if you're seeing temp fluctuations on your bed, that is most likely a thermistor issue, and your thermistor itself might be going, or you're just getting bad drafts, because you will see some variance on your bed as well with drafts. Like where my ender is right now, I have a Wham Bam hot box on it specifically for printing ABS, but it is right in line with the window vent. So when either the heat or the cold comes on, there's a direct draft on that printer. So having the ability to flip that down, even if I'm printing something else, I could flip the front down and zipper open the sides and let it draft out through the sides. But that will prevent the direct flow of air onto both the hot end and the bed, which could reduce temperature fluctuations on the bed. Yeah, the sock will help temperature fluctuations of the hot end and the heater block on the hot end, but if you're getting them on the bed, it's either a draft. You can potentially PID tune both the bed and the hot end as well, and that'll at least reduce the fluctuations. And then, you know, like I said, there's just different ways. You can also insulate the bed, which will help with your heat up times and stability of the bed temps. And yes, Osita Craft, that is a stealth burner, and that mod that I showed you that'll work with the CR, that is for a stealth burner. You're going to do a Bowden afterburner? Okay. Yeah. Wow. Okay. So, Monlight, you said you were in Utah. Yeah. So you're further north. Like if I was in Colorado and dealing with the cold temps there, and if I was in like the basement or, yeah, either the basement or like a garage or something like that, that's or near a window. Yeah, you might get fluctuations from that as well, just because of the colder temperatures and the climates. I think they've been close to sub-zero here the last few days. Like I can't complain. It's 58 degrees here in North Carolina. It has not felt very much like winter, and I'm fine with that. Sorry, we'll grab 3x8s, and that is a 10. And there's 4 screws that'll go on the top that will lock in that the Voron Revo. And the nice thing with this one is there isn't a PTFE tube or a Bowden tube clip on the top of this one. So you see I haven't put in a Bowden tube yet. I will add that afterwards. And just to make sure I get all 4 of these aligned, I'm not going to ugga-dugga any of them down. I'm going to do all 4 and get them started. And then we'll go around and tighten them a little bit by a little bit. Okay, Cetocraft, if you need printed parts for a build and you can't, you've never printed your ASA or ABS before, do you have the ability to print ABS or ASA? Oh, I'm sorry, you're in Oklahoma. I'm sorry. I may be mixing somebody. I have a coworker that's in Utah then. My bad. I swear I will start learning these things and drilling them into memory soon. Boom. And that is literally your tool cartridge, or yeah, they call it a cartridge, so it's a tool cartridge. And once again, with these 2 little eyelets on there, it just it'll rotate into the M12 screws on the gantry, and then it'll lock on the little lip at the gantry, and it'll stay right like that. Yeah, and that was the big thing I had. So Monlight, you're getting the wind that's coming down out of the Rockies. So I was stationed in Colorado Springs and lived there for almost a decade, and we would get the winter wind shears coming over the top of the Rockies down into the bowl that is Colorado Springs, and you've got, there were restrictions on the heights of the building in Colorado Springs. So I was on the east side of the Springs, and once it passed us, it was plains out to Falcon and then on out. I mean, it was high plains, and they would get iced in so bad out east of me that it was bad. There was a Air Force base out there called Schriever, and on some of the bad storms that they would get, people would be locked into the base at Schriever for like 3 days because they couldn't get up and down the hill to get to the base. Oh, the plastic bag and cardboard enclosure. Yep, that works. And you see, I mean, I got the Wham Bam pop-up enclosure, and the nice thing is that'll work for my Enders. It'll work for any of the Crusoe Mark IIIs, and it's something I can put in place but I can also take it down and just fold it up and stick it in this on the side when I don't need to print, ABS or something else. So a pop-up enclosure. I've seen people use like those pop-up photo enclosures or painting, the little pop-up painting booths. I've seen people use that. Really, you're just trying to keep the drafts off. And yes, being able to heat the chamber from the ambient temperature of the heat bed and the hot end will help the print keep from warping, but it's not critical. The criticality is keeping the drafts off of it and keeping the temperature steady. Yeah, exactly. One of my coworkers who's in Utah said they're getting ready to get 2 days of ice. Like it's not snow, it's not rain, it's just ice storms. Okay, building an enclosure out of T-slot and or any type of extruded. You could even go down to Lowe's, Home Depot, or wherever, and you can get the thin wall square aluminum tubing. You can either do the angle or the tubing, cut that easily enough with a hacksaw, and create a box frame out of it that you can then put black trash bags, wrap with black trash bags, and you just set that over the printer. Or you can do a clear, the clear contractor bags, and put that over so you can still sort of see it, and that'll work great. Like I said, you're just trying to keep drafts and breezes off of it, and with having any type of enclosure over it, you'll level out the heat within the chamber. Okay, and now's where we would insert the PTFE tube, and my God, there is not a straight cut on either part of this. But you'll insert the PTFE tube in and cut it to length. And once again, you want to make sure that it's definitely a straight edge cut, because you're going to press fit it all the way down until you'll feel it bottom out on the Voron tool head. And so you want to make sure that that's straight and even. Sorry, you want to make sure that it's straight and even. And then normally it would say if we're doing clockwork 2, we would leave 11 millimeters showing. And I would just mark out 11 millimeters, make a mark, and then I would go over and cut it on a jig I have where I can get a straight cut. And then that'll work for clockwork 2. If we're doing the LGX, which I believe that's what I saw the results were going to be on the second poll, was 73%, 11 votes against 27%, 4 votes for the Bondtech LGX. So we will go with the Bondtech LGX Lite for this build. And because of that, I'm not going to do this tube just yet, because I need to do the top portion of that to figure out. Basically, I'm going to have to do some math and figure out how big that should be. And the Wham Bam enclosure, like I said, it's nice because if you have a Voron and you build it to be enclosed, then the enclosure's there. So anytime you're going to print something that doesn't require a heated chamber, you have to open the doors or take some panels off. On the let's change it. On the V0, it's easy enough to I don't even necessarily have to open the door. I just take the top hat off. So on my V0, there's a black piece right here, which is just an extension piece to give me more room, because the loading tube was rubbing up against the top of the top hat and marring the plexiglass on the top of the top hat. but I can literally just lift the top hat off because I didn't screw mine down. And I did actually, the spacer does give me the ability to screw it to the top hat and make it a hinge. But the new top hat version for the 02 of the Voron Zeros is an extrusion top hat, and it is hinged. So whenever you go to print PETG or PLA that doesn't like an enclosure, you can just open up the lid and print, and you're good. I don't even think you have to open the door, because all that hot air is gonna come right up out of the chamber. But if you do a regular, like if I enclose my stealth burn or my switchwire, I can open the doors whenever I print, but unless I have a 180 mod for the doors, they're going to stick out, and you stand the chance of banging one and ripping it off or damaging it. So you just have to understand how it is that you like to print and what you're going to do. And like I said, the nice thing about that is the door is basically a front panel I flip up. I can do whatever I need. I can recover a print, close the door, and still get going again because I haven't let out all the heat from the temperature or from the chamber. You did not vote 10 times? Okay, I'll believe you. But yeah, so this part's done for the moment. We will work on cutting the PTFE tube when we get to that point. So I'm going to set that aside. So we will go back to then putting together the LGX. So I won't need this part and a couple of the other parts, but I will get the parts out for the LGX. So these are, whoop, let me, here we go. So these are the accent pieces that would make up the idler, and then this is the kind of the spring tensioning clip that is similar to the dial screw and spring on a BMG, which is still used, but that sets the initial tension, and then this will release the tension so you can unload or load filament and then lock it back down against this shuttle, which then brings the tension back on in the Clockwork 2 systems. So we won't be using those now that we're going to go with the LGX. Don't need this, so I will get this stuff out of the way. And bring the Bondtech out, and we will go to a different set of instructions for this. So the LGX Lite is a very versatile system, and it has various ways that it can be mounted, and that's why they give you quite a lot of square nuts and some PTFE tube, is to be able to mount this in different orientations depending on how you need to mount it. I'm trying to see which screws we're going to go into. I go in there. Okay, so you have to understand how you're going to mount your Bondtech. So I'm going to mount through all 4 of the lower holes, which means I will have to take the front panel off to put in nuts on the front. And while I have that off, I'm going to take the motor off and load in nuts for the back as well as the side, because we will use these 2 side holes to mount the adapter that will allow us to put the tool head board on, which will allow us to run all of our tool head wiring to the tool head board, and then have, I think it's a 14-pin main connector and then a 4-pin connector for the LED lights. And at any point, if we ever need to work on the tool head and the extruder assembly, we can undo those two wires and be able to take the whole tool head assembly off and then bring it over to the bench and work on it. So that works out really, really nice. I am sure there are mods for a Bowden style stealth burner, just like there was for the afterburner, because once again you get people that are chasing the speed, and to chase speed and get your you have to get your gantry as light as possible, and the easiest way and quickest way to do that is to get rid of the extruder, which also means getting rid of the motor, which is where the majority of the weight's from, is in the motor. So if you can move that off the printer and go to a Bowden setup, then yeah, you're way ahead of the game at that point. So I'm just not aware of what those mods would be. So 3 button heads. So what we are going to have here is this actually goes with the stealth burner front end. So this will be the mount, or I guess it's the piece that your LED will go into that will get mounted for the center light, along with the diffuser piece for the stealth burner cooling system. So we'll put that off to the side. And if we were doing the Clockwork 2, this would be the adapter piece that the board would screw into for the toolhead board. We won't use that on this build because we have 2 different adapters that we can use. Sorry about the squeakiness. And I did mention that, they have different front plates for these. So that's the stock front plate on it. And this one also came with, it's called Beehive, but it's got a little bit of that octagon type, or excuse me, hexagon style trim to it. That would be good for, probably goes well with a Voron. But in this case, it's getting covered up with a fan, so we won't use that. Diffuser piece goes with that as well. We will be able to use the same door that covers up the wiring in the tool head, or the tool head board, and the same mount for the cable chain. So we're just going to set those off to the side for a minute. I did go through and put in all of the heat set inserts required on both pieces. So now what I do need to do is open the front cover up on this and hopefully don't spill parts everywhere and have to put an extruder together. Okay. And after getting that off, you'll notice that there are channels right here and right here, and that works for the front. The problem is the back ones I can't get to without taking the motor out. And what I will do is, since the front through bolt's all the way through, make sure I don't drop anything out and have to go through and rebuild the extruder on stream. I will put in the front 2 nuts. Maybe. It doesn't want to go in. Okay. There we go. I just needed something a little more substantial in my finger to push with. It really does not want to go in. There we go. And they don't line up fully yet, so they got to get pushed in a little bit more. And yes, these are proper tools, by the way, Evil Diesel, if you're still on. Maybe forceps will give me a little bit better. A really tight tolerance print. So the nice thing I like with the Bondtech systems is their extruders are SLS printed, which gives them great tolerance, but also can be a pain in the butt when you got to get things lined up. Chrome tab closed on its own. Do you have like automatic updates for your Chrome setup? Okay, so I got that. Now what I'm going to do is put the foot plate on so that it will hold things in alignment. Flip the whole thing over, put it on the table. Now I can pop the motor off, and that will let me get to taking the back panel off very slowly and gently. Hope you all can see that. I'll get you guys a little bit closer. So let me see if I can lift this up without dropping the screws out. There's a little bit closer look at the different gearing systems that's on here. So the motor runs against the big gear, which also has the smaller gear attached to it, which will then turn both the large drive gears for the filament. So now I need to press in 4 more of these. Hey Stephen Poole, how's everything going? Look at you sneaking in here. And once again, we're going to get this started a little bit and then try and use something a little more substantial than a thumb to push that down in there. Only half a potato. Yeah, my stream keeps cutting out because I'm running on a twice baked potato. We'll go with a twice baked potato. We do have a new router. It did come in today. We will be installing that later this evening because I've got to get better internet up in here in the dragging layer. And regardless of how better the internet gets up here, I will be also running hardwire because we're having internet issues across the entire house. So getting a newer router and one that say was at least made in this decade. Will be a good upgrade for us anyhow. And then we will work on those ones lined up a lot easier. So we'll get that back on there. We'll get the back plate laid on there. The motor, put that back in and make sure it meshes with the gear. Okay. Flip that over. Raise up those screws just a little bit so that they clear the motor. Rotate it in place. Now we just have to screw those back down. And we'll make sure, yep, everything's moving. So moves pretty easily. Now, one thing else that we're going to have to do is the little collet clip in here. We've got to pop this out. And don't lose it because we will need it in the printed part. So we're going to set that aside for right now. And we'll start with the back piece. And we'll just slide it around the back, and what we're doing is we're going to line it up with the back of the motor and go into the bottom two screw holes in the back, kind of like that. And these are M3 by 12s. Oh, you little feisty sucker, catch. Alright, so that was not catching, so maybe didn't have that nut all the way in. Oh, nope, didn't have it all the way. There we go, that should work. So what are you up to tonight, Stephen? Okay, the orbiter didn't like your Tronxy board. Oh man, you're just having all kinds of fun with that. So the orbiter, trying to think, if I remember right, they actually had suggested several settings for both Marlin and Clipper in the little guide that comes with it, right? As far as what current to run, and then how to set up the like steps or rotation distance and all that goodness, all that good stuff. Okay, so we got that piece on, and you need to add a couple of other screws in here or you're going to have problems. So there's an M3 by 12, and that goes in the top slot, which probably would have been easier to put in before I put the motor in, because the gear is in the way. And I believe there's actually a note on the GitHub page for this mod. Now, as far as why your SKR2 won't flash, I think some SKR boards require you to rename the file. Like if it was firmware.ben, it has to be like firmware1.ben before it'll do it again, or you may have to completely erase that SD card and redo it. So this particular screw has to be put in, and it goes on to the tool head board itself, and it's just a direct screw, or you're feeding right into the plastic. So I would suggest just go ahead and do that now. Because it's going to be tight fit to get back into this screw after that gear's there, because the gear is literally right there. Yeah, so normally I'm in the process of upgrading my organization system there, Wolfman Crab Arms. So normally I have them in various, I'll say different, sorry, I'm trying to get this tight, but not too tight, because I still need it to, yeah, that'll, oh no, that's a little bit too loose. That works. So normally I have various bins, and I just put labels on the sizes so I can keep them all separated. And God heaven help me if I drop this. That's where your screw bolt sizer comes in handy, is when you get to pay 52 card pickup and resort everything. But what I'm starting to do is go to the Gridfinity system, where I'll have everything in bins that'll be in drawers, and I can just put the labels on the bins. And so I have several sizes up here. I went and put all the smaller sizes up here because I know I'm going to need them, especially at this stage when I do this work. So it just makes it easier to have it at hand, so I don't have to keep dipping off stream to grab additional sizes. So once again, the motor, you're just going to take it in and kind of feed it in from front to back. And there's the clearance issue I was trying to, whoop. Yeah, there we go. So you've got the tensioner clip, and then right next to the tensioner clip, you'll have the top gear and then that screw. So you really have to get that screw in this door on first, because you don't have much access to it after you put the front end, or the extruder mount on. Yeah, and I've watched like Steve builds, he has that little tray for doing, like on his the little octagon tray, and which is great because he's currently doing a V02 upgrade using one of the LDO Motors kits. And you start off doing that upgrade by, well, taking things apart. So you just take things apart and lay it out in the tray, And then hopefully you're good at gauging the sizes and putting it all back in the right way. Now, one thing I will suggest is your front panel, or not suggest, but show you, is your front panel, just like on the Clockwork One, there is a recess there and a bump out on the adjoining part. So they do that a lot so that they key together and lock together well. And the other reason I had to take that collet out is it's a extremely tight fit from the top down into the extruder base. And what we'll do is we'll be putting the collet at the top and running the PTFE tube through the top and then down through the top of this and until it hits the bottom of the extruder opening. So it gives a really good tight path. And then again, the tool head's going to mount right underneath this, and that's where I need to gauge how much the PTFE tube I need to go down into the tool head. And see, it's a pretty tight fit. It will clip together really well. And then just looking at some tolerances and thinking ahead. So before I put the front on, I'm also going to mount the cable chain mount to the back. We'll go in through those two holes with the threaded inserts. So the lower hole comes in from the front where the rear hole comes in through the back, and that is an M3 by 20, which I need to grab from here. Yeah, so one goes in from the back, and then the other one will come in from the front, and it'll be a M3 by 20 goes through the back, and a M3 by 8 will go through the front. And that's where I said now it'll get a little bit of tight to get in there to get the other one in. But it's doable. That's what I'm saying. When they did this, they really, really designed this well. Okay. Like I'm lining up. There we go. New card had to lose the dot bend. Now it takes firmware but hangs in the middle of install. Haven't got that far with Clipper yet for the power. Okay. Yeah, Nero's also doing, he started that today where he started his V01 to V02 upgrade. I was trying to watch that today, but I had like 3.5 hours of meetings straight, so it was kind of going in the periphery on mute or on silent. And then finally I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to watch that stream afterwards. Now one thing is my motor wire is now coming out from the bottom. I want to change that around. And okay, so I want to change it so that it's coming out at the top, because when my board mounts, my board's going to mount right here, and there's a connector. Give me a second. Oh, it's right in front of me. So I got the 2-piece Hartk board on Red Dragon. I used the 1-piece board, which is just this board. I think maybe with one other connector on it. And this board will mount to the side right here. And these prongs going forward will slip into this other board just like that. And all of the fans and the LEDs for the stealth burner itself will be mounted right like that. So I will be able to take the front off and the board will pop out with it. Okay. Once again, it's all ease of maintenance and quality of life issues. But because the motor mount is on the back side, if I do it like that and the motor wire is coming out underneath, then I have to wrap it all the way around and then into the mount. If I rotate the motor 90 degrees, I can go a super short connection and just not have that much wire left. And then there will be a screw that comes down the side that holds it. Whoop, a screw that goes in on the side that holds it shut. So I'll raise you up just a tad bit there. So once again, I will take this off, switch that motor around 180 degrees, and then put it back in here. Hopefully the next time I do this, we will have our extruder done. And it doesn't take much to unscrew these, because we're just going through the ear flaps here on the motor. And once we got them undone, just pull them forward a smidge. And rotate that motor around. And it's just a matter of getting them lined back up, and then we can screw them back down. And what I will do is I will just cut this into a shorter length and re-crimp it in the same order. And then that way it'll be just enough to make it in. It's still give me enough room to take it out without damaging the wires. And I know some people like to watch crimping. If you want to see Grown Man cry, then I will crimp on stream. If not, I will crimp this off stream, and it'll be done for the next stream on Saturday. And we're getting good at doing this. We're just going to put this back in place, line up those two holes at the bottom, and get some screws in them. There we go. So those are done. We now got our motor in a position to make it easier to do our wiring without having to run and loop around. Now we will take and put our front piece on. I'm just looking real fast at my plates here. Yeah. Just because I've got big fingers and we're getting into smaller, tighter places, I'm going to go ahead and add this adapter plate. So this is what will attach to the side of the LGX and then allow me to add in the tool head board. And we need to put in a couple of square nuts. And I've got two different sizes of these. There's one that offsets it by another 6 millimeters if it's needed. It all depends on which boards you get and which ones you're using. It looks like I just put these into the board that is going to be offset a little bit further back. So hopefully that works. If not, once again, we'll take that back off. We're getting good at it. And these will go on with M3x6 screws. And fresh out of M3x6 socket head screws. But I am a Voron person, or at least I have Voron, so I've got M3x6 button head screws. It should still work just fine. And so the part that I'm screwing in is going into the side of the LGX where we put the square nuts in. And it's got two square nuts pressed in the back that'll be used to secure the tool head board itself. It did say M3x6. Ah, I know what the problem is. Once again, it's made for a socket head screw, and the head of these is too proud, but so the head of a button head cap screw is just a little bit bigger than a socket head cap screw, which means that you'll run into tolerance issues when you have to try and use a button head. So what you can do, if you have reamers, flat end reamers, and you have the right size, you can go in and ever so slightly ream out that that hole, and it should allow you to have enough room. You're really not taking off a lot of material. I'm not trying to adjust the structural integrity of the part. I just need to open it up just a tad so the button head cap screw sits all the way down there instead of sitting on top of the surface. It goes and sinks in. And that should give me enough depth to bite into the hood. Give me the depth I need to bite into it. You know, it says M3x6, but I'm going to go to M3x8s. And in that case, I will go to a standard M3x8 because I do have M3x8 button head cap screws. You know what? I will use the button heads just because we will be attaching a board behind this, so just to make sure we have clearance. We have clearance. And the hole goes towards the front because that's a cutout that gives room for the gear itself to work. Okay. And the board's on. We still have clearance on the side there. Everything's starting to close nicely. And then you can go ahead and mount the board. It says to use an M3x5, which I definitely don't have an M3x5. I do have M3x6s. And what I can do to make up some room put a couple washers underneath it, and that will make up the space. I don't need it. Well, one is calling for socket head cap screw again, and I'm going to use button heads. But by using a couple of washers, that should buy me the space that I need to not bottom out and cause me an issue. What's everybody else up to this evening? You know, oh wow, we've run a lot longer than I normally stream for. I'm just going just till I snug it up, and that feels good. Do a quick visibility check and make sure I'm not seeing pull the board up or anything, which I'm not. think we'll get this next one in, and then we'll get the front put on, and we will call it a night. We'll come back and work on it on Saturday. And I will definitely have found the end stops that I was looking for by then. I'm just once again looking and making sure we're not having any issues with things bottoming out. No issues with things being over tightened. There are some cutouts for the little nibs on the back of the board to fall down into, and I'm just making sure that everything's lining up with those. And if you need to or want to, you can always cut the little soldered nib ends flush or more flush in certain areas. And that way you'll get a better fit. And yeah, as you can see, I'm hitting some interference here. So I'm going to have to try using the other board, or adapter piece, I should say, to try and get this in. I will say thank you all for hanging out with me tonight. I know it's been a little bit of starts and stops, but I want to say that's sort of how some builds go when you're going off of a couple of mods of a mod. But we will work through this, and we will have us a switch wire going soon. Those out there, we'll go back to the 6s because I think they will work now. Let's go about popping square nuts out so we can put them in the other adapter plate. Okay, both those are there. I will remount the holes just a tad bit so that we can mount those with our button head cap screws. Once again, the whole piece goes to the front. Right, so we got that mounted on there. And we'll take our board, we'll go ahead and get one of our screws started. And once again, I might have to come in and nip some of the ends off just because they're fairly long. One started, the other one started, and then we'll check and see if we've got the ability to close everything. And that's still catching. I mean, it can get closed, but that's still way, way, way too tight. So I will double check. I think there might be, it said that we can use the same door, but there was also a test door file in there that I didn't print. So maybe I will print that test door file and see if it will close easier, if it's got a different shape to it. Because as we're coming down, one, the board's kind of canting out a little bit because the pins are catching. So I'll have to work on maybe nipping off some of the back pins on the board to make it lay flat. And then, like I said, it's just catching right there, but there's a piece here that sticks out that I wonder if we can get rid of that piece. It should close just nicely. So I'm going to have to print out that other door and see, work on getting this together and see how this works. I'm going to go ahead and call the stream now. I think we've made some progress. And next time we should be able to, I'll have the end stop in place. We'll be able to run the belts and get the tool head finished and assembled. I will test fit everything on the LGX mod and make sure that it's workable and doable. And then I will go ahead and do that on stream and make sure that you all see it. And then the really exciting part is starting to build out the self-burner tool head and getting the different fans in here, getting the LED wiring and stuff like that in here. So we will see everybody on Saturday. I will try and have my stuff together a little bit more, and we'll be ready to rock and roll. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me tonight. Let's see. Apparently my one computer went to sleep, so let's see who is on that we can raid into, and we'll get a raid going, and I will. Oh, my computer just didn't go to sleep. It restarted. Why did it restart? I wonder if it installed an update. So real quick, the one thing, the collet that we took out from the top of the LGX, we are going to install right at the top here. Should just pop down. Well, that one's not going to do it. So the ones I have on order will. This is still too small for that. I was hoping it would be reusable, and that's a negative. So we will work on getting that done when those parts come in, which should be here by Saturday as well. I apologize all. Apparently it booted me. and completely rebooted my computer. We are in. I just need to see, does anybody have a suggestion for who to raid over into? Or anybody they want to raid into? Subsector is on West. Sis, you've been on this whole time and been quiet and just lurking? You are awesome. So subsector is on. We will go over and see subsector then. Let me get that raid going. Sorry about that. Let me get this raid going. And thank you for joining me. Sorry we had some fits and starts. I think we had some good conversation tonight as well. Thank you for the follow, TippyBoo88. That is awesome. It is 88, right? Yep. And like I said, I'm sorry we've had some fits and starts. Once again, we're working with a mod to what is already a mod with the Ender 3 to Switchwire version. So I will get some of this sorted out. I will get it squared away for the next stream. And with that, we are going to go ahead and raid over to subsector. Please go along with me on the raid. And when we get in there, let's let her know where we're coming from. And, you know, I'll just say, race a little heck, because why not? Thank you for joining me for this, what turned out to be a long stream. And we will talk to you all again soon. Thank you very much. And with that, we're going to raid. Ow, 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 ow.